Welcome back, Honors. We're going to try and keep this short, sweet, pretty close to the point, all right? And then we'll kind of get rocking and rolling from there. But give you a heads up, we're going to have a quiz, a mid-unit quiz on this stuff on Wednesday, okay? And we left off Friday in class talking about Don Quixote, the art and social golden age that was happening in Spain underneath Philip II. Now, a lot of that really isn't thanks to him necessarily. It's a lot more thanks to the money that was being generated by the colonial expansion of the Spanish Empire. When you have so much money coming in, remember when we talked about the Renaissance, it's not necessarily the fact that it's a big boom in education or intellect. It's more of a boom in economies. Now, couple things though. Spain is going to definitely weaken after their loss to the English and the Spanish Armada. For three main reasons though, they're going to fall. Now, it has to do with the Dutch, inflation, and stuff just being flat out too expensive. All right. Now, anyway, so inflation's the number one. Inflation is when you have your money is losing value. Now, it actually has to do typically though when there is more money in circulation in an economy. Now, where was all this influx of money coming from? There you go. Good job, you guys. From the colonies, right? And in particular, the amount of silver coming in. There was so much silver coming in from the colonies that actually most people in Spain had access to it. And when you have a huge supply, your demand goes down. So their money lost a heck of a lot of value. Now, also, due to the Spanish Inquisition, and since successfully driven out by Isabella and Ferdinand of Spain, there were no Jews or Muslims that really integrated into the economy anymore. Now, when you lost those two groups of people at this point in history during the early 1600s, you lost artisans, craft makers, and culturally people who had higher job titles, lawyers, doctors, merchants, things like that. So when they were extradited away from Spain due to the Spanish Inquisition, actually the quality of goods in Spain is going to go way, way, way down. So a lot of the Spanish elite began to actually buy their goods from places like France and from other places like the Holy Roman Empire, or current day, what you would call Germany. Now, anyway, why that's figurative, but it's just them coming back. Now, anyway, so sorry, we're puppy sitting this weekend, so it's a lot of dogs in the house. So with no Jews or Muslims integrating the economy, the quality of goods is going to fall. Too much silver is going to lead to inflation. And then also, lastly, but not leastly, the Dutch are going to revolt because they were actually currently under the control of Spain. They actually revolted with the help of England, causing massive Spanish debt. Now, as they revolt as well, a lot of this has to do with the Dutch. The Dutch East India Company was floundering because the British East India Company was coming into their territory, and so this was one of the last blows that the British actually dealt into the Dutch East India Company before they bought them out and seized control of places like India, the Moluccas Islands, and most of Southeast Asia. But that's where we're going to stop for Spain, and now we're going to jump over into England and talk about. Okay, hold on. I got to sign back in real quick. We're going to talk about So this is Duncan. Can you say hello, Duncan? This is Duncan. He's not ours. We're actually puppy sitting him. He's very cute, though. So thank you, sweetheart, for bringing him to me. Anyway, so let's go ahead and start looking at this, though. Now, so the Parliament is going to have a huge triumph in England, right? Because here's the thing. Under the 1600s, there's always cause and effect in history. This is a really great honors topic to discuss, but there's always cause and effect, right? Now, with cause and effect, there's always going to be a response to absolutism, right? So since these absolute rulers are taking over, typically there's going to be dissension among the people beneath them. Now, oh, he's a baby. So the response to absolutism was actually political and social revolutions, right? Now, the very first one that we'll talk about before we start getting into the other social revolutions, like especially in France. Oh, you want to go be with the other puppies? Okay, hold on. Run away. All right. So anyway, Before we talk about like the more governmental revolutions in America and France, we got to talk about the political and social revolution that happened in England, and this was actually during the 1640s. So this was a huge response to absolutism because early on, the Tudors and the Parliament actually worked together. Now, the Parliament was actually established by what document again? Good job, all y'all on the right side of the room. I heard all y'all freak out and say it. You know, you're Darren, you're Peter, Swan, Amy, Zach, all you guys. Gia, yeah, I said it. Catherine, Lauren, Isabel, La. Oh, and Kava, yeah. So Josh Barnes. So I heard all you guys say it. The Magna Carta. Yay. All right, so, and during when 1215 rolled around and Prince John signed said Magna Carta, it actually led to the informal establishment of the Parliament. Now, as time goes forward over 400 years, the Parliament's going to solidify itself into a bicameral legislature. Now, somewhere nearby, write that down, bicameral. Oh, hey, that's my main man. Hello. Oh, the big boy is here. Hello. You want to get up on the bed? Come on. Come here. All right. So, the real man. Come here, Rufio. So, a bicameral legislature, though, is a two-house legislative system. Now, usually the two-house legislative system is meant to represent two different types of people, your nobility and your commoners. That's why in the Parliament, their bicameral legislative system is known as the House of Lords and the House of Commons, uniting into making the Parliament. Now, their government is a lot more intense than ours. There's a lot of yelling at each other and things like that. We'll get into all that stuff later on, though. Now, the Tudors is, of course, the line of monarchs that ruled the Church of England, but they successfully ruled along with Parliament, all right? Now, they would consult Parliament on upping taxes. They would consult them before they declared war. Come on, Rufio. You're good. Come here. So they're going to consult them before that. They're going to consult them for most actions that they actually do. Come here. Go. What are you doing? You're just pacing. That's my boy. Oh, yeah. Hello. So they're going to consult them before they do most things. Now, and that actually goes hand in hand with the American system because the Congress is the only party allowed to declare war. The Congress is the only one that's allowed to levy taxes on the national level, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So now bicameral, though, is the big part of that, and it's the House of Lords and House of Commons. Now, the House of Commons was meant to represent the common people. That's why there's more of them in the House of Commons, and the House of Lords is supposed to be like our Senate, a select number. So anyway, the Tudors, though, ruled along with them. And under the Tudors, the Parliament was considered to have this thing called the power of the purse, right? Now, the power of the purse is when they control the money, the tax money. They are not the ones who levy expenditures, create the budget, things like that. Now, the rulers and monarchs always had to consult Parliament to approve certain actions. What I want you to do as a snippet to this, all right, it's going to be a warm-up question tomorrow. Look up Henry IV. He, as a Tudor, is a great example of his dealings with Parliament. So check that out and then give me a little blurb about it in your notes. Very small blurb, no Wikipedia copying and pasting, please. So anyway, but look up Henry IV and Parliament. Now, but the century of revolution is going to begin, this is where we're going to stop, is going to be when Elizabeth dies in 1603. Now, when she died, she effectively ended the line of Tudors simply because she actually never married and never produced any offspring. Now, would have been replaced by later, actually Edward VI, but remember, Edward took over before Mary took over, and then he ended up dying of tuberculosis. So she was replaced, though, by her closest living relatives, the Stuarts. Now, write the Stuarts in quotations marks. There's a lot of things about the Stuarts that the English are not fans of. Number one, they're Scottish. They're not actually English at all. So they're Scottish. Now, James Stuart, is actually the son of Mary, Queen of Scots, all right? So give her a little section. We're going to talk about her tomorrow, though. There actually has to do with a lot of feuding back and forth between them to see who the rightful heir to the throne of the United Kingdom was. So James the Stuart, though, was considered by most English people to be like a hillbilly, very, very weird guy that nobody really was a fan of. And also Scotland, economically speaking, is much lower than that of the regular English people. So they saw this as the time when a hardcore, just hillbilly, gross person is going to come into power. Now, He's going to be the newest king of England, and he absolutely despises Parliament. Now, a lot of this can go into two different places. Some people say that this has to do with the fact that he viewed absolutists from other countries like Spain and France ruling autonomously on their own, and then other people say it's because the Parliament is just English people, and he was Scottish, and there's a lot of resentment there. Because even there was actually Scottish upheaval into the Middle Ages. If you ever heard the story of William Wallace, it's very, very famous of the Scottish Revolt that was actually suppressed by Edward the Longshanks. So anyway, but we'll talk a little facts about that stuff tomorrow. Now, James believed himself to be an absolutist. He's going to constantly fight with Parliament over foreign policy, uniting of other countries, declaring wars, suppressing rebellions, etc., etc., etc. So he even actually at one point dissolved Parliament, locked the doors, and said, "Screw you guys, I'll collect taxes on my own." We're going to stop right there, and we're going to talk about the implications of this feat when we get into class on Monday. I'm actually going to be teaching completely with the chalkboard on Monday because I want to go a little bit more hardcore in depth with all this stuff. So be prepared for a much more AP status kind of college lecture style thing on Monday. And this is the Terry Dog Sitting Company signing off, and I'll see all you tomorrow, Camden Catholic.